Hello, teacups. Welcome back to Spill the Tea Lou. Welcome back to our 12 p.m. transfer show. Lots to get stuck into today. Rodri, Real Madrid. Rodri, Barcelona. Rodri almost definitely leaving Manchester City. But obviously, a lot of people were looking at Rodri going to Real Madrid as being part of the dominoes that were going to fall, affecting clubs within the Premier League. If he goes to Barcelona, it's just another slight on Marcus Rashford. All of this money that they've found for all of these players except for him, at what point is he going to realise Barcelona do not value him? If they valued him, they absolutely could and would have found the money to buy him. They didn't. Marcus Rashford needs to get over himself and go somewhere that's not Barcelona. But the story is about Rodri, believe it or not, despite my tangent I've gone off on. We are also going to be speaking about a sale for Tottenham Hotspur. More money in, and every bit of money in will end up going on their attack. I fully believe we're going to talk about that. We are also going to talk about Matteo Ruggeri to Aston Villa from Atletico Madrid. And we talked the other day about teams moving quietly, teams moving without drama. I will tell you what, Aston Villa are doing some business. Now, whether we think it's good business, bad business, net positive, net negative, the fact is, every time I look, there's just a wee deal here, a wee deal there for Aston Villa. We're going to, at some point, have to do a wee show, I think, on Aston Villa ins and outs. If we've time at the end of this one, I'll do it. If not, maybe later. But there's loads and loads we're going to talk about today, boys and girls. So do please get stuck into the chat. Help me get the show going. And we'll see where it takes us, really. But, first of all, before we say anything else, all boxed up. Thank you very kindly. All boxed up. Before the show even started, there was all boxed up, unboxing the show, getting all the stories ready, getting all the teacups out of the cupboard. Thank you very much yet again to the very wonderful All Boxed Up. Also, Rob Always United with the Blushing Fox. We love a bit of the Blushing Fox, so we do, at Teacup Castle, our little unofficial mascot, the little Foxy. So thank you also very much to Rob Always United. Much appreciated, my dears. Now, Damien in the house. We've got Shem. Obviously, we've got Rob and all boxed up. We've also got Danny, lovely Lucky in the chat with us. There's Huge and Mama Flossie and Gaz. Hello to all of you guys. Lovely Luke is with us as well. It's not that you all aren't lovely, by the way, but lovely and names that start with L, you know, like Lovely Lou, Lovely Luke, Lovely Lucky. You're all lovely. It's just I like a bit of alliteration on an afternoon. Hello to Paige as well, who is also in the chat. Welcome. Thank you for being here. As you file in ever so orderly, could you please very kindly also hit that like button? Let everybody know that you're having a good old time here at Teacup Castle and that they should also come and join in. If you're new, if you're just sort of hanging in the background, not really in the chat quite yet, checking out the channel, stick around, and if you're enjoying yourself, please do subscribe, because we would love to have you visit us at the next tea party as well. Now that we've done the most important part of the show, saying hello to the teacups, let us have a little chat about Rodri. So this deal is one of those, it has actually, to be fair, been sort of going on all summer, on and off. So little recap for anybody who wasn't aware or who hasn't heard me say it 20 times. Rodri wanted to go back to Spain. Rodri wanted to go to Real Madrid. Real Madrid said, we don't really mind. Come join us. Sign a new deal at City. We're not too pushed either way. It turns out that it was Florentino Perez that was somewhat unsure about this deal. Post-World Cup, Real Madrid decided, actually, do you know what? We really like what you did there at the World Cup. we actually do want you. Florentino Perez got himself on board and they wanted to move ahead with the Rodri deal. Obviously, then there was all the speculation. Well, if they bring in Rodri, what does that do for Tchouaméni? And I repeatedly said, I still don't think it happens, etc., etc. And then it was, well, this Alvini and not a midfielder. How are they going to raise the funds? They're now obviously keeping Vinny. And that's where we were at. So then reports started to come out primarily from Spain saying, and this one is from ESPN. He works for ESPN in Barcelona. So he works for ESPN Spain, okay, this journalist. I don't know what his full name is. Moyorens? I don't know. And I don't want to keep butchering it over and over again as I repeatedly get it wrong. But he works for ESPN, okay, in Spain, based in Barcelona. And he has said, Barcelona know that Rodri's potential transfer from Man City to Real Madrid has stalled and they are now eyeing the midfielder. So this was the first report I saw. Then Cope came out, who is a publication also based in Spain. Breaking, Man City want 80 million euro for Rodri, but Real Madrid are only offering 40 million euro was the offer from Real Madrid for Rodri. City was like, not on your Nelly. Real Madrid have told City that the maximum amount they would go up to is 50 million euro. Not a penny more. That is why talks have stalled. So, of all the things you can do with Man City, I have to be honest, I don't think lowballing is one of them. And whatever, see if it was £50 million, I'd be like, you know what, lads, you should probably maybe have a wee look at that. €50 million, I know he's a wee bit older. I know he wants to go back to Spain. I just feel like that's a bit cray-cray for Rodri. Which obviously Man City agree with. And they're like, say what now? €40 million, €50 million, you're having a laugh. So Mati Moretto then got in on it and he said Rodri had an agreement with Real Madrid for days. But many of his Spanish national team teammates have been talking to him and trying to change his mind. Barca became aware that talks with City have stalled and now they've entered the race and are ready to make a big bid. Rodri is thinking about it. Then Ben Jacobs with Alex Crook, they started to get involved in this. So you can see the progression, guys. So it started with the journalists in Spain. Then it went to Mati Moretto, who I believe is Italy. I believe Mati Moretto was Italy. Let me check. Marca. Where is Marca based? Maybe he's Spain as well. Hold on. That's Spanish. Where is Marca? Oh, Marca is based in Madrid. Okay, so we stayed in Madrid, but with a more well-known journalist. So, Barcelona, ESPN, then Cope, Spain, then Mati Moretto in Madrid, who most of us are probably more familiar with than the first two I mentioned. Then Ben Jacobs and Alex Crook. So again, the English media is starting to get a hold of the story. So Ben Jacobs has posted this. Barcelona have decided to rival Real Madrid for Rodri, a midfield target before the World Cup, and now talks are ongoing. Manchester City still want to keep Rodri, but Barcelona are prepared to make an offer. Real were previously clear favourites, but Barcelona is also off appeal to Rodri, who would ideally like to move to Spain for both football and family reasons. And then finally, it got the extra seal of approval from The Athletic. This is from Mario Cortegana and Paul Balus. Barcelona are exploring a deal to sign Manchester City midfielder Rodri. Sources close to the negotiation, speaking on the conditions of anonymity to protect relationships, say Barca have held talks with the players' camp over the conditions of a potential deal. And then they also mentioned in the Athletic article about the influence of Rodri's Spanish teammates, who believe he would adapt smoothly to Barcelona's locker room as he would reunite with 8 of his Spanish national team teammates. So 8 of the players he plays with for Spain currently play for Barcelona. They are actively trying to peer pressure him, essentially, and encourage him to join Barcelona instead of Real Madrid. Given the fees being talked about and the fact that it looks like Real Madrid were trying to lowball, Manchester City, if Barcelona give any sort of a reasonable offer, would probably also be more amenable to Barcelona. So it looks like if Barcelona do actually come in with a reasonable offer, they have probably moved themselves into the driver's seat for Rodri. And finally, this is also from Cope, just a little bit of extra context. According to Cope, Real Madrid's plan for this summer was to sell Asensio to sign a centre-back and to sell Camavinga to sign a midfielder. However, both players are refusing to leave. The signings cannot be made right now. So that explains the lowball offer. They don't have the money to offer more than that, which is why they've drawn a hard line, being like, well, no, it's definitely not going to be more than 50. We've offered you 40, but we're absolutely not giving you more than 50 euros. It's because they don't have it to give, because they're not able to sell the players they wanted to sell. I do also just notice, by the way, just to point out, their plan was to sell Camavinga, not Tchouaméni. Just want to put that out there. Bit of vindication, bit of self-praise here. And I know they say self-praise is no praise, but oh my God, there was points I was singing in the wind when I was saying we are not going to get Tchouaméni. He wants to stay at Real Madrid. Real Madrid don't want to sell him. Here we have it from the publications that do have sources within these clubs. The midfielder that Real Madrid wanted to sell to fund player buy-ins was Camavinga, not Tchouaméni. Just want to put that out there, guys, because it makes me feel better. So, now that I've given you all of the news and I've sort of dotted my opinion on the way through there, I feel at this moment in time, if Real Madrid can't move the players out, if Real Madrid genuinely do not have the finances, if Real Madrid are not willing to offer more than 40 to 50 million euro for Rodri, I absolutely just do not believe that deal moves forward unless one of those things change. I don't believe Manchester City will accept 40 to 50 million euro for Rodri. They don't want to sell him. They're not going to accept that kind of a low ball offer. The fact that Barcelona has now seen this opportunity, stepped in, the fact that his whole thing is not specifically that he wants to go to Real Madrid, but that he wants to go to Spain. Barcelona, guys, sorry to tell you, is in Spain. They're preparing a big offer, according to the journalist here, which is clearly going to be more than 40 to 50 million euro. It satisfies what Rodri wants. It gives Man City closer to what they want, you would imagine. And 8 of his national team teammates already play for Barcelona, so he's not going to be against going there. He's going to fit in well, and arguably he would fit in better at Barcelona anyway. So it feels like Rodri's absolutely leaving Manchester City. And at this moment in time, today, right now, this minute, it feels it's more likely that he's going to be going to Barcelona, which obviously, as I said at the start, impacts a lot of the dominoes that people expected to fall at Real Madrid should Rodri go there. However, even if he goes to Barcelona, the dominoes will still have to fall within the Premier League, because Manchester City will be on the hunt for another midfielder, potentially Enzo Fernandez, potentially somebody we haven't thought of. So, now that we've done that massive roundup of all the stories I've literally just told you about, let me see what you guys have to say. Rose says, at what point do Madrid turn to moving Tchouaméni if Camavinga flatly refuses to go? I don't think they turn to moving on Tchouaméni at all, because Tchouaméni also does not want to leave. So what is the point of, right, they want to move on Camavinga. Camavinga is refusing to go because he doesn't want to leave. What is the point of them then trying to force out a player that they don't want to sell, who will also flat out refuse to leave because he also doesn't want to leave Real Madrid? So the whole thing is, That makes no sense. Why would they try and force out a player they don't want to sell, who is also going to refuse to leave, over a player that they want to sell, who's refusing to leave? Do you know what I mean? It makes no sense. So I don't think at any point they turn to selling Tchouaméni at all. I think the only reason they would turn to Tchouaméni is if they were getting Rodri. And given that talks have stalled and they're point blank refusing to go any higher, I don't think they plan on selling them, which has kind of been the state of affairs throughout the window. Different narratives have been pushed by different people, but that has always been the situation. Africa King is in the house. Fushy Corner, hello to you. We haven't seen you for a couple of days, have we? I feel like I haven't seen you in ages. It's probably only been one show. Hope you are good. Nice to see you in the chat. I see Mohammed has also joined us. Hello to you. What are you guys saying? Flossie says Barca are just trying to wind up Madrid. I tell you what, it won't be Madrid the wind up, because if they start all this carrying on, if all this comes out from all of the journalists, because as I said, it started in Spain, it's spread across, it's now being spoken about with English journalists as well. It's in The Athletic. So even if you don't rate Ben Jacobs, Alex Crook, it's in The Athletic. So this is very elaborate if it's just to wind up Real Madrid. Also, it won't just wind up Real Madrid, it'll wind up Manchester City. And I don't believe Barcelona will want to get on Manchester City's bad side, even if they do enjoy winding up Real Madrid, because they do. They do enjoy winding up Real Madrid. However, I don't think they would risk annoying City and damaging that relationship by putting this story out to so many people. I believe there must be some sort of an interest. You would imagine. Maybe I'm wrong though. Maybe they are just absolutely on the wind up. Professional trolls. Paige says, I would take Rodri at Barcelona with De Jong's injuries, but I think he goes to Madrid, to be fair. If Madrid won't pay a price that City want, he definitely doesn't go to Madrid. So just again to reiterate, Real Madrid are only offering 40 million euro. The maximum amount they would go up to is 50 million euro, not a penny more. Manchester City are not going to accept 50 million euro for Rodri. And so if Madrid aren't going to offer more, and Man City are definitely not going to accept that, then he doesn't go to Real Madrid. Do you know what I mean? That just stops being an option. The only way that changes is if Real Madrid go back on that and do offer more. Or City lose absolutely all their marbles and do something they've never done before and get completely lowballed for a player. They've just sold Trafford for like 40 million pounds. They're not going to sell Rodri for 40 million euro. It's just not happening. And don't forget, he might want to go to Spain, but City don't want to sell him. So when you don't want to sell a player, the price goes up, not down. I really just don't see him going as it stands to Real Madrid unless something about that changes. Rose says, the biggest club in the world, football, and in brackets has said Real Madrid, refuses to pay decent money for transfers, and Barcelona are just wind-up merchants. Flossie and Rose very much on the same page there with Barcelona. Huge says, do you think Barcelona are getting revenge for Alvarez? A lot of people reckon Barcelona are absolutely on the wind-up. I love that. It's brilliant. All we need is Atletico Madrid to get in on the party, and it's going to be utter chaos again. Tomorrow we could see that. Atletico Madrid now want Rodri. That'll be fun. Rob Always United reminding everybody to please like and to please subscribe if you are new. Let me see. Lucky says he likes Ben Jacobs. You're more of a Ben Jacobs fan than Fabrizio Romano, Lucky. We do know that. Let me see. Everybody's saying hi. That's just all the highs. Okay, let me go forward. Let me go forward again. All Boxed Up says, I see Ferran Torres throwing a spanner in the works for Barca. He was asked what Barca had to do for him to continue playing for them, and he said, show me they want me, come and negotiate. I do think that could be a bit of a spanner, because that's not the only story I've seen about him. He was doing, it looked like a mix zone, so it must have been maybe after a pre-season game, or I don't know where he was, but I saw a clip of him, and he was asked a question essentially about his future, and he said along the lines of, and I'm paraphrasing, that he intends to stay at Barcelona right now, but you never know what the future holds in football. So it was a very much veiled sort of a threat here, which goes in line with what you were sort of saying. So that could definitely throw a spanner in the works. Absolutely. Absolutely, 100%. Africa King says they need a De Jong replacement. So going along with what our page said, hello to Solid Blake, who has joined us and says, good afternoon to you guys. Buddy Corner says, Rodri probably plays the last year, then goes for free next season. Potentially. He seems to really want to go to Spain. I believe, and it's an opinion, I believe if Man City get a reasonable offer, while they don't want to sell him, they would probably let him go. I think if they don't get an offer that they consider to be reasonable, your scenario happens. Agreed. Either way, I don't think he signs a new deal at City, put it that way. Yes, where is Mr. DJ Milkshake? Where's he gone off to? I need him right this instant. NS Sports in the chat. Hello to you. Roz. Barcelona enjoy winding everyone up. Yeah, they wind me up too. I'm not a fan of Barcelona, but they take special job in giving it to Madrid. Special joy. They do. Random in the house. Hello to Random. Let me see. In the final stages of signing his new deal. Haven't seen that this morning, to be fair. Let me see. Let me go to Fabrizio. Right, we've read this. We'll come back to this. Let's have a little look. I'm assuming that's what you mean. Final stages of agreeing his new deal with Real Madrid. But, sometimes assuming is dangerous, so you got to double check these things. All boxed up. Hello to everybody that has just arrived. And yes, like check. Okay, let's go. Fabrizio Romano. Okay. Fabrizio. Real Madrid are closing in on a new deal for Vinicius Jr. after positive talks yesterday. The verbal agreement is now at final stages, final details being discussed, then green light to proceed with a new long-term contract. Jose Mourinho also pushing for Vinny to stay. I have to be quite honest, that's absolutely nothing new or different from what we discussed at length yesterday. Fair play to Fabrizio. It's his job. He has to post. He needs an income to feed himself and his family and support his lifestyle. There's absolutely nothing new in that we didn't already discuss yesterday at all. We already knew all this. So he's put it all in one tweet instead of 5 tweets, but we already knew this. So look, you win some, you lose some, Arsenal fans. You got Bruno G. You've missed out on Vinny. It's the way of the world sometimes. James Trafford has officially passed his medical, says Mama Flossie. No, and it won't be while he's on holidays. He has to come back, physically sign it, and do pictures and stuff. My understanding is he's on holidays, and that's why it's not been announced, because the pictures and all of the PR that goes with it haven't been taken because he's on holidays. But it's all agreed, and it'll just be announced when he's back and does the PR work to go with the announcement. Is my understanding. That might be wrong, but that's my understanding. He can't do the PR stuff right now. When he's done the PR stuff, then it'll all be officially announced, I believe. Let me see. They love free transfers. They do love a free transfer. They might be happier if he just waits out his deal as well. Get him on a free. I have to say, people, and I see this actually, not everywhere, but I do see this sometimes. Somebody said this in the last couple of months, like since the summer started. I don't know if they said it here or if I saw it on the internet somewhere. Somebody said the managers don't matter that much, really. And I thought it was the craziest statement I'd ever heard in my life, that the managers don't really matter that much. I can't remember. I thought it was somebody in our chat, but I can't remember. But it's the craziest thing I've ever heard in my life. Absolutely matters in all across the board. It was, thank you. I did think that was said in here. It was genuinely the craziest thing I've ever heard in my life. Absolutely off the wall thing to say. And I think we've seen that then through the summer. Tonali went to Spurs for De Zerbi. We actually had Santos come out and say the thought of working with Michael Carrick as a midfielder was absolutely instrumental in his decision to come to Man United. We've seen it with, obviously, Jose is the big one. Oh my God, the difference already in Real Madrid. He went in, he told them who to get rid of, he told them who he wanted, and the only parts where they've failed him is where they've tried to move players on and the players point blank refused. And I guarantee you that's going to be box office next season, because see those players he wanted out that have refused to leave, Jose Mourinho, he's going to have some fun with them. But Iraola, attracting targets, keeping some players that wanted to leave, stemming the flow a little bit. Like, we're absolutely 100%. Alonso, how many times have we heard or read or seen in the reports around Chelsea transfers this summer, led by Alonso, directed by Alonso, wanted by Alonso? All of the whole transfer window is being driven by what Alonso wants, okay? So if anyone thinks that the manager / head coach is immaterial when it comes to transfers, really and truly, I would recommend that you look again, because I think you're underestimating the impact of the manager, is the politest way I can say it. There you go. Footy Corner said Bruno G said he wanted to play for Arteta. I mean, it matters. Why? It really matters. Africa King said Tielemans said the same thing. Midfielder, Michael Carrick. Do you know what I mean? And again, I held my hands up when that came out, because I was like, who's Michael Carrick going to attract? There we go, midfielders. He's got midfielders. He can attract them. Do you know what I mean? So I just think you have to be aware. I think a lot of the time it's popular to downplay certain things. And then if you look at the reality, it's really important. So, I don't know how we got to this. Oh, from Vinny. I actually don't know how we got to this, because we were on Rodri. But anyway, we've got here. So we're going to finish off on that Rodri / Vinny / managerial prop section. And overall, look, we'll keep an eye on it. As it stands, it looks like Rodri, I personally think, will leave and potentially go to Barcelona. I think you can't underestimate the bond he probably has with the 8 Spanish international team teammates that are already at Barcelona. I think for me, it's about whether or not Barcelona put in an actual realistic bid for him that City would be prepared to accept. Because I think if Barcelona put in a genuine bid for him, I do think Real Madrid would accept, or Manchester City would accept it. Otherwise, I think it's exactly as Footy Corner said, I think, that he will just see out his deal. I think that's where we're at with it. But as I said, the reason that probably matters the most or impacts us the most is obviously not only would Rodri not be at Man City, as well as Pep, as well as Silva, which is a massive impact on their squad, but I also think you have to look at who they would go for instead, or to fill that gap. Not to replace Rodri, because I just don't think you can replace him, but as a midfielder, because they would need another one. So we'll have to keep an eye on that, because it will definitely impact our teams. Exactly. Absolutely, exactly. Around the time Alonso took Rodgers. There you go. Paige says, we had it easy at Barcelona for a few seasons. With Mourinho back, I am worried. As you should be. I love Mourinho. He's so chaotic. I absolutely love it. But guys, we'll keep an eye on that deal as it sort of unfolds, as we get more news. As I said, it started in Spain. More and more English journalists and English publications becoming involved in the story. Most recently, The Athletic, which means we're probably going to get some more up-to-date news, I would imagine, over the next 24 hours. However, we do also have some Spurs news. This is from initially Scott Wilson from the Northern Echo, and he said, Borough agree permanent transfer deal with Tottenham for defender Ashley Phillips in latest transfer breakthrough. £7 million as the initial payment, with future add-ons also included in the deal. Personal terms all agreed, medical pending. Can I just say, this young man has never played, from what I can find, for the Spurs senior team. Last season, he was at Stoke in the Championship on loan. He had joined from Blackburn Rovers to Spurs in 2023. I believe he was involved in the younger age groups. While he signed for the club, his only match action in a Spurs shirt came during academy or youth fixtures. So he has never played first team football for Spurs. They have managed to sell him for $7 million with add-ons that could bring it up to 20. Manchester United, again, I'm going to keep saying this, want to sell Harry Amass, who has played first team football for Manchester United on several occasions. He's Prem proven, lads. He played minutes in the Prem. That's how it rolls, isn't it? And we want to sell him for 6. This young man has never played a minute for Spurs. He was literally at Stoke last season. They've managed to sell him for 7 guaranteed up to 20. And then, do you want to know what the best bit is? I saw a Man United fan yesterday coming out saying people shouldn't be complaining about the fees that Man United are getting for their players. People are, what was it? Basically, people are thick and they shouldn't expect Man United to get more money for their players, because it was about the VTech deal, the Radek VTech deal, which is also an absolute disgrace of a fee. And apparently Man United fans shouldn't complain about getting low fees for their players, especially when it's like a third choice keeper. Well, first of all, he's not a third choice keeper. He was never a third choice keeper. We wanted to keep him as a keeper and he wanted to go and play first team football. He would have been our second choice keeper, not third choice. And also, let me bring this, he had the most saves, the highest save rate of any goalkeeper in the Championship last season. Let me get this. I have it. Radek Vitek, statistically, Radek Vitek was the most effective goalkeeper in the Championship last season, preventing 8.5 goals. Top signing for Borough. And apparently Man United fans shouldn't be complaining about the fee on him. Shut your mouth. That's what I think. Shut your mouth. If you're happy taking pennies for your players, fair play to you. Absolutely do not come at people who expect more money for effective, good, young players. Honestly, you have your opinion. You're absolutely entitled to it. No problem whatsoever. The minute you tell somebody, well, you're thick, you just don't understand, or like you've labels for those people who disagree with you simply because they disagree with you, get over yourself. You're an absolute moron. Absolute peanuts. Absolute peanuts. But story is not about Man United. It's just a really good example of Spurs have got $7 million for a player that's never played for them. We want 6 million for a player that has paid for us, and we've taken peanuts for the most effective player statistically in the championship last season. Yeah. Everybody's a fake fan. If you don't agree with their opinion, you're a fake fan. Or you're, what's the other phrase I've seen floating around? You're a toaster person. Any way to just insult somebody's intelligence because they don't agree with you. What that actually does is shows your own lack of intelligence. But anyway, let me not, because if I go down that track, I lose my mind. Let us go back to Spurs and Ashley Phillips. Because as I've said again and again and again, Spurs need to bring in money because they need to buy attackers. Here's another little bit. Here's another 7, potentially going up to 20, but here's another 7, and then another little bit, and then another little bit. And if they manage to sell Romero, or Bergvall, or Spence, who's on and off the market every time I look on the internet, it all adds up, and Spurs buy another 2 or 3 players the way they're going. So I also think Borough, just while we're on the subject, is doing a lot of really good business. Middlesbrough, for a team that didn't come up last season, they're doing a lot of good business. As I said, they've just got a really sensational goalkeeper for a very good price. They're about to get Ashley Phillips from Spurs. And there's a couple of other deals they've done this summer where I'm like, this is the team. And we don't follow the championship on here. Some of you guys do, but I don't. But I personally think Middlesbrough could be in the Premier League next season. The way they're buying, and if they are, they're going to be a mishmash of all of the Premier League, ex-Premier League players. So I do find it very, very interesting. And this was followed up by Michael Bridge, who said Middlesbrough agree a deal with Spurs to sign defender Ashley Phillips, £7 million guarantee. Deal includes 13 million in add-ons, so up to 20 million, plus a 20% sell-on and matching rights. £20 million package, plus a 20% sell-on, plus matching rights on the player. Don't ever tell a Man United fan not to be peed off about the way we sell our players. Don't ever. If you're not annoyed, that is absolutely your right. Do not tell somebody else they're not allowed to be annoyed when these are the deals we're seeing from other clubs on the daily. All Boxed Up says Championship is going to be a right battle. Premier League follow suit. I do think it's going to be a right battle. I think the Premier League next season is going to be a mad battle as well, to be honest with you. You Got Rose says the whole VTech situation is upsetting. Would have loved for him to stay as the second goalie. Club had to sell him because he wanted to start, like the sell-on clause and the buyback clause, but yeah, they probably should have gotten more. Buyback clause is cool. I'm fine with that. Sell-on clause makes no difference if Middlesbrough never sell him. If Middlesbrough don't sell him for like 5 years because he's so good, or they keep him for the duration because he's so good and they never want to sell him, the sell-on clause is completely worthless. It's worth 0 right now to us. The base fee needs to be higher. That's just the end of it. He was statistically the best keeper in the championship last season, and we have just sold him for pittance. And then we go, oh, but we've got clauses. Right, and what if them clauses never get activated? They're stone useless. Absolutely stone useless. So, it just bugs me. It bugs me. Exactly. It's okay to have different football opinions than other fans. The name calling is ridiculous. Exactly. We can all have different opinions. That's kind of how it works. Yeah, exception to the manager theory is Nottingham Forest. Forest players turn up to play for Marinakis because they haven't the foggiest who the manager will be. Who is that? Oh, they're going to have Glasner, aren't they? Did they get Glasner going into next season? Have I entirely imagined that? Or has Glasner gone to Forest? I'm sure that happened. Who is Forest head coach? Yeah, it's Glasner. I was like, I'm sure that happened. Maybe I've imagined it entirely. Solid Blake says, every club can sell for good money except United. It's starting to feel that way. Oh, Van de Ven in talks with for a new contract. That's very interesting. Very interesting. Africa King says Arsenal as well. Sorry, I was just reading your comments, but some of them are conversations, so I'm trying not to get in the middle of your conversation. But so, yeah, to be fair, Arsenal aren't great either. That's a good point. At least it's not just us. I feel a bit better. But the VTech is an exact example of somebody wanting our player and we still couldn't sell very well. So I don't really think this applies. Say no one really wants our players when people actively want our players. Xerxes, Como, Juventus, and Roma have all been interested in Xerxes this summer. We have failed to sell him. Every one of them has been interested. Roma wanted to buy him before the World Cup. So people do want our players. We just can't sell them. I think this is like a thing that's just been said over and over and over and over and over and over again to the point where people start to believe it. People do want our players. People absolutely do want our players. The problem is we can't sell properly. Look at Garnacho. The answer to that was, oh, well, people don't really want him, so we have to sell him at whatever price. He's now been sold on, having had a worse season, having a worse reputation for a higher price than we sold him for. So the problem is not people don't want our players. The problem is we can't sell. That's the problem. And then the excuse we're given for not being able to sell is, oh, well, nobody wants our players. Teams actively want our players. We cannot negotiate for love nor money. Chelsea wouldn't have taken a single penny less than 25. Not one penny less than 25. Yeah, Solid Blake's with me, probably more. But anyway, deals for other teams just make my heart hurt. But I do think it's a step closer to Spurs buying more players. Now, moving on from Spurs, Matteo Ruggeri. Now, I mentioned this briefly the other day, but more news has come out. So, according to Marca, Matteo Ruggeri will not travel to South Korea. Atletico Madrid and Aston Villa have reached an agreement worth €18 million fixed plus €6 million in add-ons. So 18 plus 6, €24 million total deal, with the move now awaiting the players' final approval. Now, this came from Marca, okay? They put it out yesterday at 1:30 in the afternoon. Then it came out from Ruben Uria, who is a journalist and a YouTuber, but he's a journalist as well. And he came out and said, agreement in principle between Atletico and Aston Villa for the transfer of Matteo Ruggeri, total package of €25 million. So Marca said 24, he said 25, but they're basically the same. Like, they're pretty close there. I've not seen, and maybe you guys have, I've not seen any I suppose, what we would consider more reliable journalists. And I know there's been links. We've seen the links. We spoke about the links yesterday. But according to Spanish reports, it's already done for 24/25 million euro. If it goes through, it makes sense because he would be replacing Digne, I assume. So it means they've lost Digne and Rodgers, and they've brought in Garnacho and Ruggeri, which is an interesting move for Villa. I've looked at Ruggeri, I've looked at his stats because obviously I don't watch La Liga. He looks all right. His injury history looks decent, minimal. He looks okay. I don't really know. Yeah, but they haven't brought anyone in instead of... Oh, should they've brought in... And they've lost Tielemans, brought in Manzambi. I think Manzambi looks really good. I think Garnacho, you just never know what you're going to get. Ruggeri, I don't know enough about, but my basic look, he seems all right. His injury history's good. He's a bit younger. I think he's only 24. I'm sure he's only 24. 2002, 24. He's just turned 24 in July. I don't know. I don't know how I feel about Villa. In my head, when we spoke the other day, I was like, Villa's going to drop off. They've lost lots of really good players. I don't know how I feel. Well, why would they play him on the wing when he was bought as a midfielder? It would be really odd to buy a midfielder and play him on the wing. Why would they buy a midfielder and play him on the wing? We've just said, right? We've lost Tielemans, they've brought in Manzambi in the midfield. Why would he be played on the wing? That makes no sense at all. Lily, hello to Lily. Well done for catching a live. Lily's normally in the comments after a live stream. Is normally in the after live comments. So nice to see Lily in the live chat. Welcome, welcome. Like, you're just arguing for the sake of arguing, Africa King. They've bought a midfielder to play in their midfield. What are you talking about the wing for? NS Sports said, speaking of Garnacho, Argentina have just announced they will make July 15th National Football Team Day because it was the same day England got knocked out. What? Is that real? Are you sure that's not just rage bait on the internet? Is that real, or are they rage baiting? That can't be real. That can't be real. That has to be rage bait. Surely not. If they do that, that's absolutely mental. Absolutely mental. But it does seem to be moving forward. And in other news, sticking with Villa, they're also braced. This is from Tom Colomossi, who works for the Mail Sport and covers Aston Villa. Aston Villa are braced for a fresh bid from Arsenal for Ezri Konsa, who's 28. Arsenal's initial proposal was well below Villa's £60 million valuation, and they're not under financial pressure, as we know. Konsa is a key target for Arsenal, and they are unlikely to give up hope. In this particular situation, Villa hold the cards because Villa definitely don't need money. They've had a massive, massive sale. They've had other little sales too, but they've had a really big sale. So they're not under financial pressure. They won't be forced into accepting an offer they don't want. But that's what Villa are they're just pottering along there, lads. I don't know if maybe I've written them off too soon. I need to look. I do need to look. It's on BBC Sport. Oh my God. That's crazy. No, I can't. I don't believe England would have done that the other way around. Would they not mark the day that they won the World Cup most recently? Like if they were going to introduce a new football day, would they not mark the day where they recently won the World Cup? I know it wasn't the most recent one, but it was still quite recent. This feels like a crazy thing to do. Lewis in the chat, hello to you, celebrating. He believes Rodri's going to Barca. Africa King does not rate Konsa. I'm just more, as I said, I'm more looking at Villa. When we spoke and we were sort of semi-doing predictions, we were just having a bit of a right now, this moment look. And I thought, well, Aston Villa are going to fall out of the top 5. Everybody else, it's so hard to gauge. I'll be totally honest though, guys. I don't know. I'm undecided about Villa. The more I look at it, the more I'm like, well, they did that. They've done a load of deals I've forgotten about. And then I look at it and I'm like, oh, and they've done that one. Oh, and they've done that one. Oh, they're doing this one. So it'll be very interesting to see if the English journalists and publications follow the Spanish journalists and publications and more actually starts to come out on this. I would guess it's not. If there's been an agreement reached, why is no? Right, let me check. Has anybody else published it before I tell you anything else? Maybe they have. So Marca were the first to say it. Ruben Uria followed up, as we said. The Athletic have confirmed that Aston Villa strongly pursue Ruggeri, which is the story we covered. So the Athletic and Fabrizio are saying that he's being chased aggressively and they're pushing to get a deal through with Ruggeri. The Spanish publications are saying the deal's already been agreed. Team Talk has said full agreement as well, but I'll be honest, I don't necessarily go by Team Talk if other more prominent people haven't said it. But it looks very much like it's likely to happen, short of a surprise, which this transfer window has been full of. But I do think maybe we need to just keep our eyes on Villa. Not saying they're fantastic, but they did really well last season. And they've arguably improved some of their positions, or at least not dropped off. Garnacho is the arguable one. But it just makes life more difficult for our teams if Villa manage to hang in and around it, to be honest. Lads, I'm mortified. I'm actually getting second-hand embarrassment. That's actually mortifying. Why would you do that? You'd be ashamed of your life. That's actually embarrassing. I can't believe that's real. Lucky says he loves the villains. You got Rose says, I think Chelsea get back into the top 5. Rose, I think that's an entirely possible shout because with one game a week, a new manager and the business they're doing, absolutely entirely possible. 100%. Africa King says, if Villa buy Kwanzaa, they'll be all right. No, I'm up to date on the chats. Up to date. That's mental. Sorry. I know that's actually the craziest thing I've heard. That's completely distracted me because that's absolutely nutty. That's off the wall crazy. That's mortifying. I'm actually embarrassed for them. This is Olive Blake. Let's celebrate the 19th, the day Argentina lost the final. It makes no difference. In case you're not aware, the Irish people have certain feels about the English sometimes, but I mean, it's still absolutely mortifying. That is mortifying. Guys, on that note, I am going to love ye and leave ye. I have a... just... hold on. Sorry, guys. Let me just take care of this because I actually haven't got the patience for it. Oh, dear. There we go. Thank you all so very much, you absolute wonderful teacups. You are all fantastic. We yet again have had a very fun, very unexpected show that we've gone off on a tangent, which I absolutely adore. Very much appreciate you taking part, for being here, getting involved, getting your comments in, for hitting that like button. If you're new, as we said, please do subscribe. We would love to have you back here at Teacup Castle. I will be back with you guys 7 p.m. this evening. Special shout out, all boxed up, unboxing the show as always. Rob always united with the blushing fox, which we love. Ye are all super, and I hope you have a very lovely afternoon. I'll see you all later, folks.